Going back a few years ago to when I was in my first few years of learning the guitar, Steve Vai was a name that I heard thrown around a lot, but I'd never actually heard his playing. When eventually one day I did stumble upon his playing, I was just absolutely amazed at the sounds that he could create with his guitar and the melody that he got from his guitar as well. And this led me to study quite intensely his technique and really analyze his style of playing. And even to this day, I still analyze his playing in depth as well. He's constantly raising the bar for guitar players and even inventing new techniques and new styles along the way, as well as developing and changing certain techniques that he's learned himself in the past. I could reel off so many different things that I've personally learned from Steve Vai's playing and learning his songs. However, this video is all about what I personally feel, especially for me, is the most important thing that I've learned from Steve Vai. Narrowing this down to one thing that I feel is the most important thing that I've learned from Steve Vai's playing has been a really hard task because there's so many different valuable things that I've learned. However, the most valuable thing that I've learned from Steve Vai is to trust your ear. Learning music theory is great, and I personally rely very heavily on music theory. However, something that I struggled with earlier on is allowing myself to break out of that theory concept. I used to literally think to myself, if something doesn't fit within a certain scale or a certain key, then it doesn't belong there. However, that's not true, and I did learn this quite a while ago from a Steve Vai lesson that I actually stumbled upon myself. It was a long time ago and I can't remember exactly when I saw the lesson. However, I remember thinking, what? Steve Vai uses his ear more than he uses theory. And this guy knows his stuff about theory as well. But what he was saying in this lesson particularly was, if your ear is hearing a certain thing on the guitar, but the theory behind it says no, that does not mean it's wrong. Something's only wrong if you say it's wrong. However, if you want that certain note that shouldn't be there to be there, then it's not wrong. In terms of music theory, there are actually no boundaries, in my opinion. Everything has a name. Every chord has a name, whether it sounds awful or whether it sounds amazing to your ears. And the great thing about using your ear and letting your ear take precedence over theory is it doesn't leave you stuck when you're creating melodies or improvising or writing solos. It doesn't leave you stuck with just 7 notes or 5 notes or 6 notes. The entire fretboard can be used. I found this hard to train myself with because I'd been trained so hard with that everything's got to stick to certain keys at first. So getting myself to break out of the habit of just purely playing in certain keys or in one key to a song was really hard because my fingers were so used to doing it. And what I actually realized that Steve Vai meant with this lesson was use theory to the right degree and the right amount, but also use your ear to the right degree and the right amount as well. So basically let things such as scales be your guide, but don't feel like you're locked within just the notes of that scale. Particularly when there are chords underneath a certain melody that may be borrowed from different keys. That's when it's also a prime opportunity for your ear to hear it and go to these notes that are away from the original key that a song is in. So a little demonstration could be, let's say you're in the key of B minor. There's nothing wrong with if your ear is hearing going to a note that is not within that scale. There's nothing wrong with playing it, trying it, and then when you go to that note, if it sounds right to you, keep it in with whatever you're writing. And if it doesn't sound right to you after you've done that, then change it. So a demonstration would be, I might be playing in B minor. Now in theory, that last note that I played then is not in B minor, but that last note might be the note that my ear was aiming for, and that might be the exact sound that I want with the chords that be being played underneath. And by thinking this way, you can end up writing some parts of songs that are a bit different. It can create tension within a certain piece, or it can really sound melodic depending on what the chord is underneath it, especially if the chord is a borrowed note that note does belong to. So basically, in short form, the best lesson I ever learned from Steve Vai is trust your ear and let your ear play as big of a part in writing music as theory does for you. And if theory plays no part in writing music for you, then that's absolutely fine as well.